Today on Locked on Rockies, another pretty good start for one of the Rockies' best young arms. Should they stick with the four-man rotation plan or go with the young guns?
You are Locked on Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked on Rockies podcast for today, the 19th day of March in the year 2025. I am your host of the Locked on Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked on Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? We're in the right spot. We are. You are. We're all in the right spot because we're here on the Locked on Rockies podcast, talking Rockies baseball, free and streaming for you here on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked on Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind, like you all continue to do, because Rockies fans are showing up. And a couple of Braves fans. We've heard from a couple of Braves fans who live in Denver as well. So shout outs to our friends from across baseball, and our other friend that's tuning in because they got Nolan Jones on their fantasy baseball team. If you might not be a diehard Rockies fan, thank you so much for checking out the pod to stay up to date with all things Rockies, so you can keep up to date with your fantasy lineups, or you just love baseball that much and you just curious about a random team. So shout outs to y'all. So shout outs to everybody for tuning in. I really, really do appreciate it. My name's Paul Holden. In case you are tuning in for the first time, I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been bringing you this pod for I'm going into my fifth season, something like that. Anyway, I've been doing this for a bit. Love the Rockies as I have my entire life, no matter how much they frustrate me. Today on the show, that Chase guy, he was showing some stuff yesterday. Far from perfect, obviously, but the Rockies facing a situation in which they are going into the season with a four-man rotation. Should they reevaluate that and let some young guys? Should they let Dollander get up there and make his major league debut early in the season? We're going to talk about that. And we got another good piece from Purple Row that's got a thing that to keep your eye on as we're going through spring training here. And we'll kind of take a look at some other stuff that we're going to keep watching here as we are getting to basically the home stretch here of spring training for the Colorado Rockies. I'll hit you with that box score real quick from last night's game as well, just to give you the update from the Rockies' victory over the Giants. Man, we don't get to say that often. But before we dive into everything today, got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right. Rockies take down the Giants last night by a score of 3-1. 6 hits for the Rockies there. The damage being done by Hunter Goodman and Kyle Farmer. I believe Zach Veen also did score on. I was unable to listen to the game fully last night, so I'm box scoring with everyone else and reacting here. Dollander comes back up 3 2/3, picks up 7 strikeouts. And see And this is a total spring training thing, a spring training, I feel like lens, a haze over this stuff. I don't want to take down 7 strikeouts. I just want it that I can't wait to see him at the major league level, because I want to see how the batters look at that level. And it's just what excites me the most about him is the strikeouts. I just think that the Rockies having some dominant strikeout guys in their rotation is going to be a great plan. I mean, it's just part of why I have felt the Rockies have struggled so much with on the pitching side is throw all the variables and the factors there. I just thought the full embrace of the full focus of the rotation, bullpen, every pitcher being what it feels like a pitch to contact, get the weak contact type of guy. There's obviously exceptions in there, but I'm just saying, for overall, the main philosophy being that style worked for a little bit. But then I think when baseball really shifted to the 3 true outcomes, and the Rockies didn't have enough, they didn't have enough stuff to get one of those outcomes, the most important one on that side, the strikeout. You suffer from letting up a lot of walks, letting up a lot of home runs. I mean, that is abundantly clear. One of the biggest problems with the Colorado Rockies is walking batters and giving up home runs. And that's not just Coors Field stuff too. It's on the road. It's deeper than just saying Coors. There's been the problem there that that control hitting their spots and not walking batters, or an early walk being punished by a home run. We've seen it, especially with the opening day starter Kyle Freeland. There's plenty of examples here of that I think that aggression. Austin Gomber is another prime example too. The Rockies need guys that can miss bats, and just they need to be a team that strikes out. So anytime that I see a 5+ strikeout, and Freeland's gotten a couple of those this spring, and we've seen a couple of big strikeout performances. I don't want to ignore that, but man, I would love to see that be the norm. And I think when Thomas Harding over here on MLB.com is writing that Dollander's not making this easy for the Rockies here. He's and just a great quote here from him too. I just want to read this from it. "It felt great so far," said Dollander, selected 9th overall out of the University of Tennessee. "I'm constantly learning every time I go out there. I'm in a great spot." I think that's right. I think he's just soaking it all in. Major league experience, spring training, being around the major leaguers. He talks about working with Austin Gomber there a little bit as well. And it just seems like I think the stuff you hear during spring training to make you feel good, he's nailing, and then backed up, the cool part about, or the good sign, right, is bad start, real bad start, back-to-back good starts, so flushing it, getting it out of the way there. And again, I would not hate if the Rockies decided to go with Chase, or I was looking at some other possible guys. Bradley Blaylock has had a decent spring and gotten 12 innings worth of work here. Kind of looking at guys that have pitched a decent amount for the Rockies in terms of what that is. I'd say probably that would be the most likely guy to fill in there, as if the Rockies decided to not go with that 4-man rotation. But in reality, like, if you're not going to stick with the 4-man rotation, and I got a little explanation of why the Rockies are going to do that here in a second, why not go with the exciting guy? Why not go back to, but would you want him to start his career at Coors? You know what I mean? That could be an interesting element, but playing the A's would be maybe a little bit easier of an introduction possibly to Coors than some of the other options. So I don't necessarily think I like that he's making it a difficult decision for them to and putting the pressure on to say, hey, give me a shot. Why not? But I don't think, if the Rockies don't play him, right, if the Rockies don't promote him and they don't go with the 4-man rotation, or if they do go with the 4-man rotation, I'm not going to be like sounding warning bells or anything crazy like that. I think I kind of like, when I read a little bit more about the let me see if I can get, I have a bunch of stuff open today that I wanted to reference. Let's see. Let me get this back up. Sorry. Why I was reading about the Rockies 4-man rotation, and it kind of makes sense, just more so with the way that the schedule is kind of working out. It could be something like that. And it's they have a couple of off days where I had a thing that perfectly explained this for me. I can't believe that I closed that out. But I think that it's going to, okay, here we go. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, no, this isn't. I'm getting lost. Anyway, it's not, again, like I said when we were talking about Chase's path before. It's not doom and gloom if he doesn't make the Rockies right now. There's still plenty of time. The season's long. You never know what's going to be happening come the middle of the season. Above all, I just want everyone to be getting reps at least. So, even if it might not be much, but I do think there will be a point in the season where where you do have to say, what's the point? What's the point of not having him come up and get some major league reps at this point? Why not? He's warmed up. He's in, just let him get kind of like fully into the groove of things a little bit, a month or a month and a half in the minors. If he continues to pitch well and he continues to go on these stretches, you're gonna ask that question, why not, sooner rather than later. Especially when you consider, like, we know that we already seen one health issue flare up. Unfortunately, with starters, that depth is really important, and I don't think the Rockies are going to hesitate to start pulling, Dollander and Blaylock and getting these guys up and getting them into the rotation sooner rather than later, especially if they need to. But when you got, like, I do like that they're on this one Purple Row piece at the end. I'm sorry, I was just reading it briefly. I didn't catch it, the full stuff there. But mentioning, like, it's just that willingness to stick with the 4-man rotation and for as long as possible, as because they went and referenced a Bud Black presser after one of the games earlier this month, and that, I think, could be the canary in the coal mine. That, I think, could be one of the warning signs that you might have. But Chase, again, 3 2/3 inning yesterday, 2 hits, 2 walks. Of course, the walks are a bummer, but 7 strikeouts there. Ryan Rolison gets 1 1/3, 2 hits, and an earned run on 2 walks there. 7 walks from Rockies pitching yesterday. Always, that's definitely not a good sign. Diego Castillo, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks in an inning. Jaden Hill, in an inning with the strikeout. Zach Agnos in an inning with the strikeout. And Sam Weatherly, 2 strikeouts, a walk, and a hit to close out the game to beat the Giants. 6 hits a pop there with Tolia, Goodman, Veen all picking up base knocks as well. Goodman having a couple, and Farmer having a couple there. So just that little chunk of the lineup, the only ones doing things there. All right, let's take a quick break, and then let's bring it back here with some things to keep an eye on here, especially as our friends at Purple Row are keeping a close eye on some important stuff and other trends that we want to look at and see, and things we want to see. All that and more coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. That's promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. We are also brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like the energy of an MLS match, the chance, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. If you want to experience it all live, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLS tickets and a lot more than just MLS as well. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. You can get the best price possible right up and just even a little after kickoff, game time, first pitch, whatever you're going to. And my favorite part, you're going to know exactly where you're sitting, because when you buy your tickets, you're going to know exactly where you're going to be sitting because you got that exact view from your seat. So no surprise foul pole blocking your view. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. And we are, once again, thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. But for your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB, or if it's fantasy baseball time, so go check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball as well. They got you covered as you are heading into your draft, making sure that you are going to build a championship caliber team. Be the Dick Momford that you've always wanted to be. Okay, so wanted to talk about some stuff to keep an eye on here. And of course, this takes us to Kris Bryant, as I feel like it often does. But this is going to be something, again, that we have to keep our eye on. And this is the way when we're looking at what evaluations should we be taking serious here in the spring. And these are the type of things. And we were excited about a big home run, and we talked about that. But Skylar Timmons has some stuff that's some stuff to keep in mind here. As he writes, in Kris Bryant's bat speed isn't enough to dispel my doubts for 2025. A glimpse at his stats in his limited spring training action doesn't exactly inspire hope. In 10 games, Bryant is 3 for 25 with a home run and a double. In the small sample size, he has slashed 120, 267, 280 while spending the majority of his time as the designated hitter. He does have one game at first base. Now, of course, you have to always take spring training stats with a grain of salt. Bryant hasn't typically been a standout in spring training during his career. Skylar admits there have been some promising signs, such as 5 walks against 7 strikeouts. Plate discipline has been a trademark for Bryant over his 10-year career. A decline has been more noticeable in Colorado, as his walk rate has declined each of the last 3 seasons, but it has still been league average. His strikeout rate has been league average as well, aside from the 31% clip he posted in 2024. Perhaps the most surprising statistic this spring for Bryant has been his bat speed early in camp. Last season, his average bat speed was 69.5 miles per hour, and he only had 7 total swings tracked at 75 plus. Conversations about Bryant's improved bat speed in the realm of 73 miles per hour were sparked early in camp when he hit a home run on February 25th. He swatted a 93 mile per hour fastball offering from Yairo Urate, 462 feet. It was a vintage Bryant home run with effortless power in the bat. The exit velocity was registered at 111.8 miles per hour with the 77.5 mile per hour bat speed. And just he kind of elaborates a little bit about what he did. And let's see here. Bryant's offseason was spent working on strengthening his core to hopefully alleviate some of the pressure of the degenerative back disorder he was diagnosed with last season. The lack of a healthy back has been quite evident in his power numbers over the last seasons and the lack of speed in his swing. He's also claimed to be feeling fully healthy and strong entering the season, but how long will that last? We have heard a story of that nature for the last couple of seasons and seen minimal results from Bryant on the field. The Rockies are obviously going to handle Bryant with kids' gloves this season. He has yet to play back-to-back games in spring training. During the offseason, the team sported the idea of Bryant playing in the outfield on occasion on the road, yet he hasn't logged a single appearance, or he hasn't logged an appearance during spring training. There are also concerns that whatever bat speed numbers we've seen in camp will continue over into the regular season. Over the last 2 seasons, we've seen Bryant have an average bat speed of 69 miles per hour. And while the back issues can be attributed to that lack of speed, it has become the standard of his Rockies tenure. I read all that. I bring all that up because it needs to be completely reevaluated and finding the better role. Right now, it's about for both Kris Bryant and the Colorado Rockies. It is about finding the spot in the lineup and on the field that will get the most out of him. And DH will continue to be that, but there needs to be production there. And the production can't just be a good walk to strikeout ratio and a low 200s batting average and low power numbers. That's just not going to cut it for what the Rockies need from DH. And it's way, again, I am concerned. Obviously, I think unfortunately I'm with Skyler. I think we've seen this song and dance before. So we need to see some results on the field before I can really start building any sort of excitement. I was encouraged by that home run at the beginning of spring, but now here we are talking about bat speed, talking about lack of power, talking about lack of results this spring, all these weeks later. And it's not necessarily building the encouragement there. I would love to see a little bit of a burst from Chris Bryant before the season, and I'd love for the Rockies to start evaluating that he can't be in the middle of the lineup as this big power guy if the dip continues. You have to let these other young guys and take advantage, the guys that can produce. And anyway, that's the big warning sign there. I do think that we should continue to keep our eyes out. I think continue to keep your eye on this outfield discussion, because it's getting really, really tight as well. I mean, this is a fascinating and I think one of the most exciting parts of the spring right here, because the Rockies certainly have a lot of options, and I think it's going to take one of these players is going to need to have a standout thing. But one guy has struggled, and I'm not worried about it because I think it's okay. It's okay if Sam Hilliard earns the spot to just be the backup center fielder and be one of the bench players, because as bad as this spring stretch has been, I'm not really banking on great Sam Hilliard stuff. I'm banking on when Brenton Doyle doesn't play, let's let a guy who's familiar playing center field at Coors take over. That's going to be okay. Like, especially when do you need to carry Hilliard and Martini? But let's read a little bit here from the same Thomas Harding piece. Thomas Harding's piece that we read from earlier here has a lot more than just the pitching talk there. Jordan Beck, projected as a regular going into the spring, is yet to find consistent timing. If he doesn't during the final Cactus League week, the Rockies could option him to AAA for action. Brenton Doyle is the starter in center, and Nolan Jones, who isn't producing with power but is out of minor league options, holds left field. Beck is in a 5-man race for at most 3 roster spots. Beck had a strong spring last year, but this year is behind the fastball and ahead of the curve. He entered Tuesday 8 for 43, then was robbed on a diving play by Giants third baseman Charlie Skanowski. Beck's 2 spring homers, however, showed that what can happen when his swing path is correct. One spot likely goes to the out-of-option Sam Hilliard because he can spell Doyle in center field. Has experience as a pinch runner and had a .812 OPS in 58 games last season as a part-time player. But he went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts and struck out a ton this spring. And his batting average is .57 right now. Yuck. Veteran non-roster utility man Nick Martini, currently nursing a bruised right wrist, has made an impression with a .406 batting average. His track record for patience at the plate goes a long way for a team that naturally struggles offensively, going from the extremes of altitude at home and dramatically sharper pitch action on the road. Maybe that's all you need to read to know that who's going to be playing right field on opening day, because it does. My gut tells me it's going to be Nick Martini. My gut tells me that. It shouldn't be, but my gut does tell me that. Right-handed hitting Sean Bouchard's hot spring has him under considerations for starts in the corner, and he is tested at first base on the rare occasion Michael Toglia isn't playing. So there's your Bouchard update. But here's the big one I think a lot of people are really interested in. What about Zach Veen? Zach Veen has played himself into consideration, calling him electric, by the way, is Thomas Harding. With a .318 average and 7 extra base hits, despite inexperience that comes from being limited to 111 games because of injury the last 2 seasons. If he makes it, expect him to receive starts at the outfield corners and designated hitter, and to spell Doyle occasionally in center. So it is a quite the matchup. So we'll be watching that there throughout the rest. And I'd like to continue to see how the rest of the spring for Antonio Senzatella goes. And I think what does that mean? And could we be quietly be seeing someone that's going to have the bigger impact on the Rockies rotation than German Marquez? Obviously, spring, grain of salt with Senzo. We need to see it, But when we're keeping our eyes peeled, when we're looking for things, that's really, I think, not something we've talked a ton about. We've mentioned it, of course, but we haven't discussed it a ton. That will be good to see. But what are you keeping an eye on here for the rest of and just to kind of wrap up there? I really do think that if the inexperience is what you're concerned about with Zach Veen, I can kind of get that. But with the stolen bases, with the extra base hits, with the energy, with the confidence, I feel like he would be I think he deserves the shot. I really do. And as much as Nick Martini can bring to the team and be a patient bat, I just think right now should be the young guys' time. And I think that with the examples that with Veen and Bouchard, I think they've shown that they at least deserve the shot. They at least deserve the consideration. Maybe with the Rockies' concerns, they don't want to go that young on the bench there. But you mentioned here, Sean Bouchard can play first base. I mean, Zach Veen can DH and fill in for Brenton Doyle. So why not embrace guys that have been putting in the work and having good springs? What are you keeping an eye on, folks? Let me know in the comments below. We're going to take a break and read your comments coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Today's show is brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. You can find wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk inside Just Ingredients. And when you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram, but get 20% off your order at justingredients.us when you use the code LOCKEDONMLB. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And you can be part of the show, just like we do here in our segment number 3, because the Rockies comments keep flowing. Let's see. All right, let's talk about hope. And not a lot of it from the Locked On Rockies comment section yesterday, but that's okay. All right, here is what Diamond Dinger says. Getting into a positive mindset for this upcoming season is very hard to do, but it's also hard to not be intrigued by the younger ball players too. And I think if the Rockies embrace the young players, especially in the outfield, I think that makes it much more intriguing and much more interesting and gives, I think, more reason to tune in. Are you more interested to see the Rockies' number 8 overall prospect, Zach Veen, take at-bats? Or are you interested in seeing Nick Martini take at bats? I mean, it's again, I hate when I know when it seems like I'm just dogging on some of these veteran guys. It's not their fault. It's the status of where the Rockies are at. It's the same thing with Jake Cave. Jake Cave did a lot of cool things for the Rockies and provided fun moments. He also took a lot of time off of time away from the young guys. Evan says the Monfarts need to sell. Always that one's the classic there. Luke says, I'm even more flabbergasted by Dick Monfort's comments after you explain the way Bill Schmidt has cut the payroll this offseason. Dick is telling us we can't compete because other teams spend too much while he cuts $30 million off the payroll. He is trying to gaslight our entire fan base. Jim says, I will wait and see what happens this season, but if it goes south again and we hear the same song next year, then I will probably be done. I want to support the team, but supporting the front office when we hear the same song again and again and again is a lost cause. Owners are good at owning and investing. Baseball experts are the people that owners need to listen to. Let's see here. Richard says, at this point, I'm astounded that Dick is oblivious to the fact that it is him and his self-appointed front office staff that are tarnishing whatever respect as an organization has to pass as professional. For Dick and his staff, there's no sense of urgency to win. A clock is right twice a day, and for him, that is enough. Luke comes back here with another comment. The worrying thing about upper management telling us to wait for the young guys is that we've seen lots of talents mismanaged here, from top pipeline prospects never cutting it in the majors to losing hometown stars for nothing. The developmental coaches really might be the biggest problems when we talk about prospects not working out and things like strikeout trends. Top Crocker says, I can't do this crap anymore. Hang in there, Rockies fans. Timothy Adams says, I think by the end of 2026, the Rockies need to be playing meaningful baseball. August and September, they need to be fighting for a playoff spot. 2027 needs to be the same. And I think this season sets the stage for that. You have to show that these guys, the guys that we're already excited about, are going to continue to be solid, great baseball players. And you need to be willing to build around that while developing these other players to beef up around them. Marco says, hope is not a strategy, and Monford's plan is that Rocktober will repeat, something he's been hoping for 18 years now. That is true. He really loves Rocktober. We all love Rocktober. Don't get me wrong here. Jess says, Rocks don't deserve showcase games or series rewarding. Futility is a losing mindset. I wish Manfred put the squeeze on Rockies ownership like he's doing with the Tampa Bay's Rays owner. Yeah, but people are in this, I think that's the thing. It won't happen because people still show up. It ain't an empty ballpark, and it ain't in the middle of nowhere. And so, but I'm with you here, Jess, though. Rockies should have been placed in the NL Central. Their winning percentage is far better than versus the NL West. Realignment needs to happen soon. I'd love to see teams placed via natural rivals like Yankees versus Mets, Royals versus Cardinals. If we're talking big picture, stuff I'm kind of into in terms of things that'll never happen, but I don't know. That's not, conspiracy is not the right way to say it. What if? Oh, there we go. Hypothetical. I think realignment would be huge for the Rockies. I think the Rockies would become a totally different team, totally change their tune, totally change their attitude if they got to play in a different division against different teams. If the Rockies are in the Central, they are a completely different team. I promise you. I'm with you there, Jess. A lot of concerns, of course, obviously, with ownership and things like that. And, unfortunately, again, they need to prove it to the fans that are down and disappointed. They need to prove it to us that things are indeed on the right track here. But, when people are frustrated, you're going to stay frustrated. Oh, you know what, folks? I keep forgetting to play this thing. So I'm gonna close out the show on this again here after I do my thing. So you guys are staying up to date with all things going on with our March Madness coverage over here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to wrap things up for today. Thank you again so much for joining us. Hey, be on the lookout. I think it still should be coming this week, maybe on Friday. I don't know. It's a behind-the-scenes thing, but we got a whole National League West Division preview coming your way. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On Fantasy Baseball. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, free and streaming for you all as well. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.